Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It's Zakiziel here, and this is another Guem lore episode. This one will be on the topic of technology. So, in the setting of Guem, technology varies widely from place to place. There are some nations where people fight with spears and swords and words and bow and arrow. Not much has really changed from medieval times. You know, like more like mid-medieval, but you get the idea. There's also people who use crossbows and arbalests, even some with some more interesting design elements, such as you can see a scope on this dwarf's crossbow. Well, but there's also places where they have some early firearms, such as muskets and other, I think it was called break action. Yeah, well, actually no. There's both muzzle loaders and in some places break action ones. But then there's also those some locations where you can find people using mortars. And then there's the were rats, which are, as you can see, I base them off the Skaven to a large degree, but they they aren't anywhere near as backstabby as the Skaven, and the technology they make use of is not as ludicrous as the Skaven get with things like with things like spaceships and nukes and that sort of thing. There's there's even been actually groups such as the Killer Crew Pirates who have made some rather powerful weapons of their own as well. For a group of pirates, they push technology a lot, but I'll go more into them in their own episode. And this is also where being inspired by One Piece also comes in, because I kind of noticed how in One Piece it's a wide and wacky world with all sorts of things, and I also drew inspiration from the fact that One Piece does that and took a similar approach. So in some places, you can find well, people have figured out how to make what are essentially energy weapons, but they're usually powered by magic crystals. Usually. There's also the classic sailing ships. Some use cannons, while some are still using things such as ballistas or even having archers on deck. Although boarding action is still very common, which, by the way, is a side note. But I find it odd how very little boarding action I see in a lot of media when it comes to anything in the medieval times or Age of Sail. Considering that even well into the Age of Cannons, it was quite common for boarding action to be the way that you actually deal with an enemy ship, because actually putting holes in it below the waterline could be quite difficult. There's also sky ships, ranging all the way from some that look like sailing ships with gas bags a la uh, balloons above them, while others look more steampunk or even like something that might come out of Iron Harvest with the way they're designed. There's also some places where a similar level of technology exists, such as the machine eaters. I'll go into why they're even called that and more things about them in their own episode. But they create things like rocket propelled hammers and multi-limbed harnesses is that help them to do things and even turn their tools into robots essentially. Oh, there's also fabrics such as denim, if I remember correctly, is a combination of wool and something else. But I always did find it interesting how quite a lot of the clothing choices in One Piece are also more modern in some places. So I also decided to take advantage of that as well and actually have some places where people do in fact dress in that manner. And weapons and clothing aren't the only places where technology gets wild. There's even cybernetics that some of the pirates have access to. And some of these cybernetics can allow you to do some very interesting things, like creating electromagnetic fields to launch blades and whatnot. There's even some people who have managed to turn people or their corpses into various monsters as part of a super soldier type project. And there's also some some of the wackier inventions, like a group of rodents in the New World that, well, they make all manner of wacky inventions, such as the Rekinator 9000. And at the very top of the technology totem pole, actually, was inspired by the Endless from Amplitude Studios games Endless Legend and Endless Space. I also included a precursor civilization that is almost entirely extinct, and the few pieces of technology left over from them are treated as powerful magical artifacts because, as the saying goes, any sufficiently advanced piece of technology will look like magic to those who don't know better. But that is all for this episode. And I hope it was both informative and interesting. I tried not to go too much into what the individual do with their technology so as not to make it too long. And I hope you guys enjoyed. But that's it for this episode. Bye.